Welcome to Coastside Poetry. Thanks to those of you who've zoomed in and those who are watching on YouTube. We meet either physically or virtually on the second Tuesday of every month to celebrate spoken word poetry. I'm Diane Mooney, and Steve Long and I will be your hosts this evening. Our event is being recorded and streamed live onto YouTube as we speak. So anyone can look at it later. We'll be posting the link on our website, www.coastsidepoetry.org. We'll begin the poetry reading now. Each of the 25 poets on our readers list has 3 minutes to speak, including any intro, and we do ask that you not sing or accompany yourself with music. If there's anything else you'd like us to know, you're welcome to post it into the chat box, and we'll save that at the end. Our first reader is Bill Burns. Please welcome Bill.
Bill, you're muted.
How's that? Can you hear me now? Can't see me. Okay, sorry. I messed up the first speaker and I messed up. I apologize to everybody for that. That's my excitement, I guess. I've been working for over 25 years in the county jails, teaching poetry to men and women there, and they're writing poetry. Tonight I wanted to share one of their poems with you. And this was written by a woman, and the title of it is called Demons Beside Me. I called them friends. I always ran to them. Family is what they said. But where did they go? They're not here with me. I'm doing my time alone after letting demons sit with me. Their cruel intentions, their ugly ways, the way they play, I never thought I'd act that way. They taught me well. They held my hand, but they know better. They're not here. You don't see them inside this hell, and they made sure you never will. I'd like to share a poem I wrote for friends of mine. Thank you very much. And then I'll be done. These are for some teacher friends of mine who retired. For Bob and Stephanie. We celebrated Bob's 80th at Delancey Street as we had his 75th 5 years before. Some ask, why Delancey Street? Those who know them don't ask anymore. They've both spent their time bettering the lives of those in need. They are teachers. They plant the seed. They have given, they have got, they have listened, and they have taught. They have retired, or so they say. They are still teaching. There's no other way. So when you retire, what do? You relax, take a nap or two, fiddle around, but avoid the flu, and keep on teaching, because that's what you do. Thank you.
Should I continue? Can't hear.
How is my sound now? Is it coming through? Okay, some wires got crossed there. Okay, so thank you so much, Bill. And sorry for the glitches there. We'll iron them out in time for next time. Our next reader is Abby Kaplan. Please welcome her.
Thank you. So I have two poems. The first I wrote after a trip to the shopping mall last year. It's called Profits. The ads promised jewelry meant to reorganize me into an unrecognizable body holiday. And now I'm a walking elegy to chain stores where others check their phones for better deals online. A woman stares at a headless mannequin, his shirtless, factory-pressed muscles, thighs and buttocks tight in Levi's. Cameras test patterns. I'm a lab mouse, subject of the mathematical question of profits. An algorithm trying to be calm, pose as if I'm someone vaguely alive, while a multitude of departments shuffle the data of me, measure the length of my pause at the display, track my eyes moving among pairs of shoes, the seconds until my fingers contact child-dyed leather, calculate the time it took to think of satin toe shoes, mirrors, pliés at the bar, enough to buy the pink ones. But as soon as the car's trunk closes on my purchases, I wonder, did I smile? Were my satisfaction metrics joyous as a child in the belly of a jelly bean machine? Mouth stained with green apple, chocolate pudding, banana split? How will it be when the world explodes like a raw egg in a hot oven, when cottage cheese is worth more than cars? The second poem I wrote after a walk on Baker Beach a few months ago. How to explain? If all she doesn't know she could say in a single sentence, she would tell you about the young man in rolled up jeans who pulls a Dungeness crab from the surf with his rod, inspecting it over a white bucket as it flails. How a few audacious sunbathers, pink and plump as baby mice, squirm in the chill on colorful serapes at the base of the cliff, above which falcons roller coaster on headwinds as the young man walks, then hefts the too small to keep crustacean into the surf. Her joy at feeling its release as her own. And the older man in the red trucker hat leaning back on a log of driftwood who grins, holds his penis, looks back at her. That's it.
Great.
There's a little time delay here, sorry. Thank you, Abby. That's some wonderful metaphor there. It's really, really special. I'm really glad we're recording this because then I can listen to everything again and not have to worry about whether I'm muted or unmuted or any of those weird things. So thank you so much. Our next reader is Kathleen McClung. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much, Diane. It's such a pleasure to be part of this event. And thank you, Steve, and everybody. I'm teaching a small private masterclass this summer. And right now, all of us are writing mirror poems. And you may know a mirror poem goes forward and then goes backwards over what has come before. So I'm going to share Pandemic Mirror Poem. At twilight, a bridge not far from here begins humming. Wind rattles panes, the soot decades old, and we nod, familiar percussion at room's edge. Beyond, a virus skates a rink the size of Venus. So many puzzles. Why Nancy fell from her bike, whose hunger pushed our cart aisles away, where in the tall grass that emerald earring sleeps. I want to return, doze mid-afternoon, barefoot, our faces, yours and mine, open completely. The egrets and turtles of Stowe Lake breathing, alert. May we wake to a cure for the sickness, and beside my cheek, a small green stone. Beside my cheek, a small green stone. We wake to a cure for the sickness. The egrets and turtles of Stowe Lake breathing, alert. Our faces, yours and mine, open completely. We have returned, dozed mid-afternoon, barefoot in the tall grass. That emerald earring slept. A hunger pushed our hearts. Miles away, so many puzzles. Why Nancy fell from her bike beyond. A virus once skated a rink the size of Venus. We nod, familiar percussion at room's edge. Wind rattles panes, the soot decades old, and at twilight, a bridge not far from here begins humming.
No.
Something strange is happening with the muting. No. I was told that the latest version of Zoom. Can anybody hear me? Okay. I was told that the latest version of Zoom does not allow the host to unmute. So maybe that's what we're seeing here, but it seems very weird anyhow. So our next poet is Phil Harris. Welcome, Phil. Glad you could make it.
Thank you very much. Am I live? Anybody hear me? Okay, I'm going to read two poems, short and shorter. The first one is a love poem, and the second one will speak for itself. The first is called And Promises to Keep. I will climb upon the stars so I can hear your thoughts, live with my pain and scars as I am jumping over aughts. To be dancing upon the grass, I wonder which side I'm on. If it's all the same to you, I'll pass. A gilded plate my name is on. All and yet little is explained. When none will admit their sin, is time's cover charge remained. I will walk oceans wide, across oceans wide, 7 league boots, 7 seas. Promise you'll walk by my side. I promise we will drink the lees. And the second one is called Brevity, the Wit of Soul. Could it be I finally understand with my limited perception that I am but briefly in the band, no matter my talent or reception? That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. New trick. If you press and hold the space bar, it unmutes you. So that's what I'm doing now. I hope it lasts. Okay. Please welcome David Seltzer, our next poet.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'll start with a short one by Marina Tsvetaeva, and this is from the Elaine Feinstein translations. It's called A Kiss on the Head. A kiss on the head wipes away misery. I kiss your head. A kiss on the eyes takes away sleeplessness. I kiss your eyes. A kiss on the lips quenches the deepest thirst. I kiss your lips. A kiss on the head wipes away memory. I kiss your head. And this is a longer one of mine, and it's called Everglades. Some of you may remember that 40 years ago, Jimmy Carter launched Operation Eagle Claw to free the Iranian hostages, and that ended in disaster when 2 US aircraft collided in the desert before anyone got to Tehran. Everglades. Everglade mangrove fastness, wife of the icy moon, we become our captors. Shalom, little cloud and drum, smile for the folks. Ice around the goddamn moon. Imagine us, mother, and our little friend, the hospital. Some helicopter face smiling its bloody pennies, punishing the captains, the black frogs, the larval generals. Scared to go, Mr. President? All the way to the door. Hell office, San Francisco, and it's night. Knock me out with your bloody would ya? Like you wanted to get rid of me or some fat Cuban shot through with some kind of bacteria. Let me know if you get some, man. My God, how are we ever gonna get it? Light, tiny air, shiny cunt, little stream, little one wild night satellite, yes. He can jerk us off with his long-range Oval Office, his animal gas, his B-52. Look, honey, I'm just busy doing some little slippery thing. That's all. See ya. Death's flaming embouchure. Furtive public masturbation, big tube C, the turbine in, and like it's 500 degrees, oh baby, waves of suffocation, flasher, Max and his terrible spoon, his cutout girls and oh Max. Snicker, I said, sure, I'll taste your wine. Hot kneecap, blown off night arc. National politics, wrinkled hand on the toilet wall. And the kiddies flee the market with my money. Run up the engines and the monsters. Belt me in New York. Florida, out. I just laugh and those Republicans. Our president yanks our fantasies through his Indian Ocean satellite. Some San Francisco general I didn't know got blown up. You want to drink some wine, woman, and do that dance? My God, lightning eye patch, diesel thirst, imagine. Hey, for 2 cents, we'd shoot those red bastards. Our cones of vision gulp and we 7 hover. Again, the flaming city, gimme that, you bitch. Drunken kids save the whales. Diamond eyelids yet to burn America medal. I'm so American, it used to scare me, folks, but now somebody else's phone is ringing. I dream a dance and a wailing sax fills me with a great infinity, sure enough. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, David. Our next poet is Sandra OBrien. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you, Diane and Steve. So glad that you're here. It's really fun to go to someone else's reading. I have 2 poems tonight. The first one is called Say Their Names. Black Lives Matter March, Petaluma, May 31st. We marched from distant points at opposite ends of town and converge on the fairgrounds. 3 miles separate us, though it might as well be a continent. We have no barrio to speak of, but it's no secret that the east side of town is the bedroom of the working class. Side by side with 20-somethings, we punctuate the air with fists and signs. Say their names, say their names, say their names. While streams of traffic answer us, a man emerges from a sunroof, flares the Mexican flag like a giant kite, his face a dueling ground of joy and tears. The horns applaud, say their names, say their names, say their names. At the fairgrounds, we learn what it takes to know a people's story, the ways to offer service and respect to sisters, Black and brown, what books to read, what films to watch, a syllabus in getting woke. Before we disperse, we take a knee, a simple act, humbling and quaint, as if to propose to the world in all its rainbow beauty. Will you take me as I am, for better and for worse? Say their names, say their names, say their names. And I have one more. Thank you. This one I wrote in Dominican University had a little partial two-day writing workshop on writing for health and healing. It was great. And Alicia Ostreicher was the keynote. They had Camille Dungy. It was quite wonderful. And I wrote this poem Sunday. It's called Permission. Let there be crocuses and yellow sun. Let the people lie down with the enforcers, the lion with the lamb. Let us roll down rocky foothills and skin our knees on struggle till we bleed laughter and tears. Let pantries unbutton their blouses. Let the hungry flock to suckle at charity's breast. Let the redwoods tune their strings to water's heartbeat. The current carry the long limbs of sorrow. Let the gods pluck thorns from the feet of the broken, and the soul's orthopedist straighten every spine. Let us inhale the musk of suffering and exhale release through the universe's third eye. Thank you.
Wow.
Very much.
Thank you, Sandra. Your imagery is just amazing. Just
Yeah.
keep going. Oh dear, what happened? I missed what you just said.
You have to write with those high-powered poets. It really helps.
Yeah. Please welcome Veronica Kornberg. So glad you could come back and join us.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. I'm going to read a poem about some ancient art in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And it's all that's left of a statue, which is this pair of eyes. It's a monumental statue from ancient Greece. And that's all that's left of it. There is one word, which is not a generally known word, which is sinter. To sinter something is to take two materials and mush them together so hard they sort of start acting as one. So, pair of eyes. If I could steal just one thing from the Met, ferret it away with no one the wiser, I'd pocket the gaze of two eyes made of marble, frit, and obsidian, lashed with bronze and set to float like butterflies, pinned under glass in the room of antiquities. Steady, intent, as if never sundered or plucked from some stone-headed god in a hilltop temple. As if still waking to long rows of gnarled olives and Mediterranean light breaking over karst cliffs, light washing into sea grottos. One eye umbra, the other mint. The astonished O of the iris, unblinked. An atheist in Catholic school, I secretly added an O to God. Good was cool. I was down with good. I was down with good. Glory be to good. I savored my extra O, tucked like magic beneath my tongue, vexed to be different, soothed to be hooped, my two selves uncentered. Oh, ancient eyes in your museum case, you who knows no splinter in the mind, no crack in the column, despite a flawed world long crashed. Draw me a sun soul, draw me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Beautiful, beautiful language. Whew.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see, is Casey Van Gelder here? I'm not seeing her on my screen. I guess not. Okay. Then our next reader is Elise Kazanjian. Welcome, Elise. Where are you?
I'm here. Thank you. Can you
There
hear?
you are. Yes. Okay.
Okay. This is I'm going to read one poem, and this is a poem for my mother, who's been gone many years, but I still remember her. It's called 9 Reasons My Mother Insisted We Carry Handkerchiefs. Because she wanted to protect us, because to her they were suits of armor, because they reminded of a time past, because they were pretty. Old world romantic thinking fused her life. European customs instilled deep in memory. She was in her 20s when she married, uprooted, moved to a foreign country. She brought familiar items with her to China, like handkerchiefs, because they must have given confidence, coping with the unknown, a new language, new customs, new faces, new life. She learned the language, the customs, acquired new friends, adapted to what was required of her, all under her code of decorum. She asked the same thing every time we went out. Do you have a clean handkerchief? My sister and I always said, yes, knowing she trusted us, would never ask for proof. Why was it so important? Because a handkerchief was a talisman akin to St. George's shield. No modern dragons could harm us if we had one. Because handkerchiefs were the compass to navigate the hard times, provide solace through despair, through bends in the road when daily life was at 6s and 7s. Because the world would recognize the value of what the French call politesse on our collective journey through graciousness, sailing through life unscathed. Because delicately embroidered on lace embossed squares of dainty linen reminded her of an age when honor, respect, dignity were the essential cornerstones of society. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Wonderful.
that is just so true. The tiny things that hold our lives together. Just
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Thank
It says I'm unmuted. And are you hearing me? Okay,
I'm hearing you.
good. Are you ready?
Testing,
We are
1, 2,
ready
3.
for you. We welcome you. Bring us your poem.
I'm Wolf. So I have 2 poems. The first one is one I wrote, the first poem I wrote after about a 15-year hiatus from writing poems about 11 years ago, and my latest poem, and both of them are about death. Okay. This first one is called Breathe. I will unfold a smile for strangers, weak enough to comfort those I leave behind. Masked in green gown psychopomps will attend my final ceremony. I ignore the cacophony of the flatlined EKG. Voices of the doctors and technicians will fade, brush assistants away as I enter my final meditation. Ignore the sterile lights and the burn of the needles. Then will come the unraveling, the dizziness, spinning, roaring, falling. Remember that last dry breath of oxygen. Remember, last breath, exhale. Let's cross the river here, you say, but you stumble on the cobbles and your balance lost, you roll back and sit in the water. You laugh as the current lifts you. Reaching for my hand, your emotion is caught by a dragonfly landing on your wrist. You blow on it. Stubbornly, it trims its wings to your breath, and it will not leave until you throw it into flight. You splash me, I catch you. Then, in the slow eternity of motion, our lips touch. Exhale. Sunlight scattered through the icicles. First memories, these. How young was I? Wobbling on soft bone legs, I try to clutch them through the winter glass. Light will be my special toy to play with until the sun thaws and breaks their needles and crystals skitter on the porch. I cannot reach them through the window, though. The voices of my parents sound further down the corridor each day. Will I laugh or cry? I'm not quite sure. Exhale. And to the student who dissects my corpse, what will you find with your scalpel that's sharpened like an angel's wing? Hidden in the folds, and please search for my lost memories, hidden in the folds and stitchings of dead nerves. But will your hands tremble as you cut and probe? Will you pause before that first incision in my brain as you gag on fumes of sour sweet formaldehyde? Night blooming flowers of the dead, the scent of asphodel is painful to the living. Take a deep breath, don't cough. And this one is called Viral Flowers. Seeds of cotton candy, dandelion fluff, weed seeds looking for a furrow. This morning, there were 100,000 holes in my world, like the many faces of the moon peering through my window. I only know of one, though. I dream I'm in a theater, and there is an empty seat for you among my friends. The mockingbird at 3 a.m. abuses me with its random song, and I am awake until dawn. Sunflowers around my bird bath grew several inches overnight. I planted them to shield the birds from feral cats. The tumbleweeds are still green by the roadside. Our machineries of joy and fear are waiting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful. So Ellen Woods is our next poet. Ellen, are you ready for us? Can you unmute her, Steve?
I'm trying to. It seems like it's I can't unmute it. Ellen, go ahead and hit the space bar.
Okay, now you got me.
Yep.
Can you? Okay, so I'm going to read two poems. The first one is called Ode to Sanitation Workers, April 2020. Early light sneaks between curtains, a dance in the alleyway. Workers arrive to claim the refuge, the recycled, the compost of our lives. Masked and gloved, they leap smoothly from their massive wagon, move in rhythm to the cacophony of tubs, bins raised, emptied into the whirring mouth. Ninja warriors loyal to their craft, transforming waste, honoring the process, making less of the excess we discard. Disappearance is their superpower. And my second poem, Elise and I had the same prompt for 8 reasons. So 8 reasons why George Floyd is dead. Because he is Black and killing Black people is normal in the US of A. Because the fractured crevice of racial hatred, born of 400 years of slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, police brutality, corrodes hearts, minds, institutions in the US of A. Because chokeholds by hands or knees block the breath of life. Because the president tells us white supremacists are very fine people. Because infatuation with lynching, the public ritual of it, resides in the temporal lobe in the US of A. Because 3 armed officers of the lawless stood by, dispassionate, while standers-by begged for mercy. Because Trayvon Martin, 22612, Eric Gardner, 71714, Michael Brown, 8914, Tamir Rice, 112214, Freddie Gray, 41915, Sandra Bland, 71315, Philandro Castillo, 71616, Stefan Clark, 31818, Breon Taylor, 31320, Ahmaud Arbery, 5620. The list goes on. Because each morning, white people in the US of A open our eyes and have amnesia.
Wow. Fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you much. Joe Cottonwood, are you ready to read?
Oh, sure. I've got a Coastside poem here, a Coastside romance, I guess. It's called Marriage is a Surfboard, Waves Break at the Beach. Sandy's so good looking, girls are sucked to him like flies to a dog turd. Wavy blonde hair, dark brows, quiet, aloof. Best surfer Lisa has ever seen. He's up at 5:30 to catch the waves. After school, girls sit at the bluff, hair in the breeze, legs tan, hoping he'll notice. Never Lisa. Girls grow up, pair up, careers, children. Lisa's a lawyer, nonprofit, saving polar bears. Divorced, 2 boys. One day they stop at the bluff, watch whales. Sandy's still there. This time he notices, "Hey, don't I know you?" She answers, "Lisa, high school." "Super smart, Lisa. Your brain scared the crap out of me." To the boys, Lisa says, "This is Sandy, super surfer." Sandy grins, hair a bit thin. "Hey, you still a lawyer?" Lisa's shocked. Turns out he knows about the split custody scandal, calls it your wipeout. He says, "I never had the nerve to talk to you." Lisa says, "Same here." He laughs. "In high school, everybody's a coward. We just don't know it." The older boy asks, "Hey, Sandy, you ever touch a whale?" "I wish. It'd be like touching Nirvana." Younger boy asks, "Hey, Sandy, you ever see sharks?" only on land. They carry briefcases. He covers night shift at Subway. Bring the boys. I make a good sandwich. Already Lisa sees he's a god in their eyes. He likes children, has an easy way. The older boy asks, how to be a super surfer? Sandy laughs. Just go heavy, but light. Go easy, but hard. The secret is balance. The rest is joy. Now Lisa says, relationships too. Sandy says, huh? Lisa smiles. Sandwiches tonight, because it just might work.
That's great.
Very nice, Joe.
I don't know, sheltering in place. I just have been watching romance movies. Maybe it's rubbing off on me.
That was refreshing.
Yeah.
Our next poet is Joel Katz. Joel, are you ready for us?
Yep. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Get the poem out. This poem, one poem, it's called Game of Fours. There are 4 stanzas. Each one has 4 lines, and each stanza contains 4 utterances. Game of Fours. I won't bother to tell you what it is. It's whatever it looks like when you first see it. It might change before your eyes, along with the light. What stays here is no longer something else. Alternatively, what is unsaid stays. The quiet is not annoyed. Something happens, making other things change. A space for it will always be here. So what if your whistling sounds like a sputtering teapot? So what if it's just Wednesday? Stick around. Things occupy their space, plus a little extra. Let X stand for the ineffable. Then let Y equal X, even when you've never seen Y. Save this paradox a place. Cover it with night until the morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. I thought that was an interesting concept. I'd like to see that written out, see how it looks on the page.
I can send you a copy.
I would like that. I would like that. Thank you. Our next poet is me, Diane Mooney. And this poem, can you hear me? Okay. This poem is a riff on the I Ching hexagram number 57, Penetrating Influence. Primer for modern times. 1. Locate lacunae, the gaps, the careless lapses. There will be one at least to right of center. A broken lock, aim. Sometimes the archer needs only a single arrow. 2. Lacking that degree of skill, one could become the thorn that lodges deep within the angry flesh. Achillean heels, even emperors sometimes go barefoot. 3. A planetary wind persistently, consistently gnaws and frets, occasionally bringing down the house. One should not forget to be like wind. 4. Ocean shapes the shore, and deep in Stygian darkness, water carries lime, drops on self-same spots, stalactites, stalagmites. One would do well to emulate the ruthlessness of water. Thank you.
Very nice.
So our next poet is Phyllis Klein. Hi, Phyllis.
Hi, Diane. Thank you for
Welcome.
That was a beautiful poem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so many amazing images in there. So hi, everyone. Want to let you know that I have a book, a new book, my first one. It's called The Full Moon Herald, and and it's in the form of a newspaper. So I'm going to read a poem tonight that is not in the book, but and it's a new poem, so I'm kind of want to see how it sounds and see if it holds together. But it's kind of in the style of some of the poetry in the book, and this one comes from an article in the New York Times. I want to give you just a little bit of a update on what it's about, so you can follow it maybe a little more closely. So it's about an Israeli man who was injured in a landmine. It takes place in Israel, and a doctor at excuse me, a Palestinian doctor who treats him using a book that was authored by a Nazi that has amazing drawings of human anatomy. So that was a story that caught my attention. And the poem is called Trinity. The patient, an Israeli, lives with the gnawing of a landmine exploded into his 13-year-old body, living on for decades with physical torture, surgeries. The doctor, a Muslim in Jerusalem, trained in the US, a surgeon desiring to help his father with a work injury, ceaseless pain. The Nazi main author of an illustrated book on anatomy, using Nazi artists, swastikas in their signatures, breathtaking nerve pathways of Hitler's corpses. Triangle of hate, of hope. The Israeli hated all Arabs after his body got infiltrated with rage of another. And the doctor, an Arab who works at Hadassah Hospital, translation, Compassion Hospital, brings the Nazis' anatomy book, the best one for nerve surgeries. Rabbis decreed all patients must know the source and decide for themselves whether to use the evil towards a healing advantage. The doctor does this, and no one ever says no, because the word evil is devil without the D. But a pact with the devil is better than no pact at all. Because the doctor knows about hate, a Palestinian living in Israel, and about love. The patient, the doctor, the Nazi book, evil used for good. Healing happens. A necklace of shrapnel removed. Necklace of friendship created. And what of the devil? Left out of the triangle, the bodies of slaughtered people, illustrated, faceless, beheaded. nameless people woven into this story like a braid of suffering, twisted, complicated. From the engravings of their anatomy, can they speak to the patient, the doctor, to all of us?
Very good.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thanks so much. Our next poet is Dan Brady. You ready, Dan? Hi.
Hi.
Glad you could make it.
Hi. Chaos has been like rampant these last millennia. It seems.
Sometimes it can be hard to keep to a schedule.
But I'm glad to be here. I really am. And how much time do I have just so I can set a timer so I don't go over?
I'm sorry, I missed what you just said.
How much time do I have? I want to set a timer so I don't go over.
3 minutes, please.
Huh?
We would really appreciate that. Otherwise, it just stretches on and on and we get tired.
I understand. All right. So this is a poem that hasn't been read because there's never a good time for it. Might as well do it now. A tiny bit of background. In 1920, the Russian nation, or they called it the Soviet Union at that point, invaded Poland. And there was a movie about that. And in one place there's a singing and a dance scene going on. And I loved the music. And I found a rough translation and made this poem out of it. So here we go. 1920. Before what we leave behind is trampled into dust, before the claim of our sacrifice is lost to memory, before the wind sweeps away the grief and pain and the sanguinary earth is washed clean, let us sing praises. Let us commemorate those who left everything behind, whose hearts leapt, whose eyes saw and ears heard, and whose body took death in hand to dance where they could break themselves to peace and pieces. Let us not forget those days before time stifles the cries of birds which yet sing, before the monuments we made of both sorrow and trust are worn to sand. Let us sing to those who gave their last full measure through the withering fire of hell on earth, as the four horsemen rode our heartlands over. My beloved, stay within my heart, though I will never see you again. My beloved, save me from fear of losing all that I have, and stay within my heart if cruel fate brings time to a close, taking one of us away. One day, my love, I pray you'll find me wherever I've been lain, and bring white flowers, though I fear being unworthy to kiss your wounds, but I sing to commemorate our trial, the dire struggle of those days when winter's breath chilled the river, our river, where willows now weep a tune. Let us commemorate those many and those days. My beloved, stay with my heart. Save it from fear, the fear of losing all that I love. If cruel time comes and takes one of us away, my beloved, stay with my heart. Save it from fear, the fear of losing all that I have, if cruel time comes and takes one of us away. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Right.
Very moving, Dan. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Our next poet is Monica Corday. Am I pronouncing your last name right, Monica?
Yes, Diane, you
Corday.
are. It is Monica Corday.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And thanks once again, Diane and Steve, for this opportunity. The poem I'm offering tonight is in light of the current events, the protests, and especially the act of taking a knee to show solidarity over George Floyd's death. It is called To Rise, and it starts with a quote. There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. There are 1,000 ways to go home again. By Rumi. We kneel before kings and queens. We kneel before gods. We kneel before altars and tombs. We kneel to hold a child into an embrace. We kneel to show respect, to pray, to plead. We kneel in joy, in grief. We kneel to ask someone to marry. We kneel to give someone CPR. We kneel to ask for forgiveness. We kneel to show gratitude. If kneeling is not enough, we need to lean, arc our bodies towards the light, become a Venus thistle. The ire, the cry, the raised fists, we must remember. We must pick up the broken pieces before we move on. The side of the moon facing away from the earth will always be known as the dark side. That is not where we are, but it exists. This too we must remember. We may not know each other, but every story is ours. We may not sing the same songs, but every song is ours. We kneel to weed the garden. We kneel to sow new seeds. Sycamore, dogwood, oak, timeless, persistent, they first grow down into earth, then bend towards the light. They all know how to rise. Sometimes we kneel not to make ourselves smaller. Sometimes we kneel to find our way home. Thank you so much.
Wow, beautiful. That's spectacular.
Thanks, Sandra.
Powerful stuff there.
Wonderful, Monica. Thank you
Beautiful.
so much.
Thank you.
Oh, that's really great. Our next poet is Blake Moore. And Blake is new to our group and would really be lovely to see you, Blake. I hope your
I
video,
just have
there you are, yay.
I have very limited internet. I live on the rural Mendocino coast, so if I have my video on the whole time, you don't come in very clear. So
Oh, okay.
Here.
Well,
Nice
thanks
to
for
see you
joining.
all.
So,
Thanks for having me. I'm going to read 2 poems. I'm also a poet teacher in the schools, and I've been doing a lot of Zoom teaching and working with my students. So these are a couple of the poems. This first one is called Reaching Deep, and it's for the youth stuck at home. I halfway remember the first time my grandmother said to me, "Only boring people get bored." In my mind, I recall thinking she was clueless, heartless. Didn't she know I was an LA kid stuck in the farmlands of Arkansas for an entire summer? The mighty Pacific replaced by a garden hose and row after row of corn. Nobody interesting to play with, and the nearest mall 90 minutes by station wagon. The days wore on, tedious, disheartening, annoying. Then sometime around month 1, I got bored with myself and rose from my sleeping, moping, complaining couch and went outside. To my surprise, I noticed bright green pods dangling from a wooden fence. Small, round berries redder than any department store sweater. The air smelled of fresh dirt. Claps of thunder brought torrents of warm rain that felt as good as the ocean. For the rest of the visit, I swam with the sky, danced to the sound of cicadas in the evening. I ate peaches right off the branch, lettuce straight from the ground. I sat under the massive shade of a pecan tree, drew the creatures that appeared in my dreams. I wrote postcards to friends, letters to my parents, went to bed tired, woke up excited to go outside again. My grandparents noticed my supper time smiles, but didn't say anything. Perhaps they understood what I did not, that nature's DNA had rooted into the marrow of my skin, forever altering my churlish demands for perpetual entertainment, the immediate glitter and rush of movies, sleepovers, candy bars from the corner store, replaced by magical plant brews and the simple, slow spread of time. And this next poem is another one that I wrote with them that's called Breath of Being. Breathe in like trees do. Swallow the dark, billowing plumes of inequity. Exhale clear night air and owl-scattered skies, hands stretched across borders. Breathe in waxen regimes that serve the few. Breathe out the freedom for all beings, families living in warm houses, drinking safe water, singing by a fire, grandparents reading to children. Comfort your friend who wonders what she will do without her husband. Bear her your heart. Breathe in her numb silence. Breathe out a waterfall of tears and guide her toward the river of acceptance. Today, like yesterday and tomorrow, make soup spiral, lift like blackbirds. Breathe out long afternoons by the sea, light slanting toward dusk. Breathe in storms, breathe out sun, sea mist, ghosts of sandcastles and footsteps scrambling on rocks. Breathe out summer, breathe in winter, breathe out winter, breathe in spring. Climb inside every season and look around. Discover where it loves you most. Love it back as if your life depends upon it. It does. Breathe in broken shards of story. Breathe out whole pictures.
Oh, gorgeous. So beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you
Inaugural
so
reading.
much, Blake. I hope we'll hear more of you.
Me.
Keep losing my voice. Let's see. Myrna Herschel is our next poet. Welcome, Myrna. Are you ready for us?
Yes, I am. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. The first poem, the subject I think needs no introduction, so it's short, I'll go right into it. The cruel dawn of November 9th, 2016. I peel myself out of myself, compelled to remember last night. Barely out of a deep sleep, I do not see, but only feel the nascent morning coming. I tremble and crave to crawl back to the frame of the lightless snail shell and let things stay the way they were the day before yesterday. Oh, come delay and carry away this cruel dawn and all the dawns between then and now, still cruel. Thank you. The second one is from good old days when I was still traveling. It's about the most beautiful island of Santorini in Greece. A fathomless sea of the bluest of lapis lazuli leans on the haze of horizon. Against this magnificent spread, all shapes measure themselves. All colors shimmer in all. A mirage. The cliffs of Caldera emerged from Aegean Sea, a phoenix still trembling, submerged for too long, a white dove released. O Santorini of Asia domes and whitewashed houses framed by undiluted sienna and green and blue, and above it all, the blue. The men and women live under your kind auspices. They carry in their souls the names of ancient gods in an ancient alphabet engraved in broken marble. They teach their children the glory that was Greece and let their everyday lives melt in the liquid landscape. Like dots in a busy design, the tiny resident ants mill on a sandy beach and slowly disappear in the spread of the white sand floating on the sea of blue. From the cloudless sky, the benevolent sun blazes and caresses, the infinite lover radiating life. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Spectacular.
Do I have a voice? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Myrna. Our next poet is a new member of our group, and welcome, Trudy Reagan. And Trudy, are you ready?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, perfectly.
This is called When Put into Perspective. In my Tennessee tourist town in the 1940s, Mother was fascinated by foreigners. When one of them came into the little library, she would invite them home. Sitting on our big screen porch in the dark, I, at 12 years old, would listen to them quietly relate how they escaped the Nazis as I watched through the screen, little fireflies blinking. In high school in 1953, a murmur went through the assembly room. Stalin just died. A party hack took his place. Nothing changed. Exiles in Siberia and gulags behind the Iron Curtain were often in the news. I thought, I hope I never have to live in fear. In college in the 1950s, my professor in existentialism had endured World War II in Europe. He assigned The Plague, The Captive Mind, Darkness at Noon in 1984. Some things in 1984 have already happened. In Russia, all persons declared unpersons had all mention of themselves deleted. Meanwhile, about careers being ruined here by the Red Scare of McCarthyism, I was scarcely aware, except by absence. Pete Seeger disappeared from the radio. Even so, in 1958, Jack Kerouac's On the Road adventures could still happen in anonymity. I read it avidly. This dream defined me. In the 1950s, concurrent with FBI violence against the Black Panther Party, Ken Kesey and his merry pranksters bus romped across the country with abandon. In the 1980s, when I and many others transported Salvadoran refugees, we were fearful of arrests that never came to pass. These refugees told us of monstrous oppression. I thought, I would never want to live in fear. When the Patriot Act was passed in 2001, I reread 1984. I studied the Act's legal methods to gather intelligence on us. Since then, with now abundant computer tools, have come ever more ways to track us. Neither Kerouac nor the merry pranksters could have roamed freely. GPS tracking, license plate and facial recognition, credit cards for gas, or even large cash withdrawals would betray them. I thought, we only lack a malevolent leader to use them. June 4th, I awoke in fear, and here he is, and has just poured accelerant on the fire of unrest and will turn it into a forest fire, his big excuse for a police state. I called my dearest Black friend, Pat, in the morning. I couldn't sleep. This is bad. This is a tipping point. Pat said, you know where I'm from. We always had a police state. It was called Jim Crow. It always has been bad, and it's still going on.
Thank you, Trudy. Peter Carroll, would you like to give us your poem?
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. This is called The Gunfight. It's the greatest movie ever made, my pal Michael announces. Casablanca, I reply. No, 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 he responds, naming some cowboy picture, the ballad of someone I never heard of, which would end the story. But these days in confinement, looking for any break in the boredom, I find the movie streaming. Escapism into the mythic West. And discover a singing gunslinger who winds up in a gun duel with another blustering killer in the middle of Main Street in a dusty cowboy town. But unlike the usual bang-bang scenes, the fastest gunman does not kill his rival, but shoots off his trigger finger, incapacitating the loser. And then with a ceremonial twist fires 4 more shots, each removing a single finger from that hand, leaving 5 stumps before the villain is sent to eternity. And now I realize why Michael likes this movie. A reenactment of his view of the world, not as a singular calamity, but 1,000 small ones, nibbling at the edges of life. Not tragedy, but total weird shit that sticks in his mind forever, evoking manic laughter. A realist he is, ever wise, ever wacko, and the happiest guy I know.
Thanks. Thanks, Peter. Do we know that person?
I do.
I guess I don't. Oh. Our next poet is joining us all the way from Maryland, I believe. Tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right. Hiram LaRue.
Yes, good job.
Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Diane and Steve, for hosting the Coastside reading series. It's a pleasure to be with you folks and to hear your terrific work. As Diane said, I'm zooming in from Maryland, as we say back this way. Before I read my poem, I'd like to repost a call for submissions. I've started an initiative called Poetry X Hunger, which is focused on bringing poets and their poetry to the anti-hunger cause. If any of you know of folks or yourself written a poem about hunger, and I'm not talking about hunger of the spirit or of the heart or of the mind, I'm talking about hunger of the stomach. If you've written a poem about hunger, we would love to post it on the Poetry X Hunger website. I've posted the email address that you can send your poem to. I don't believe we have about 150 poems posted on that site by people from around the world, but you know, I don't believe we have too many, if any, from the Bay Area. So please consider submitting work. This piece is called Custard. It's a poem about love, a love-hate relationship with history. Custard, like pudding, custard. From this far away, the Civil War and Revolutionary War seem like custard to me. That's not to minimize the horrors, but it is to say that I have learned to accept my aging face and all the sweets that come with ghostings. It is to say that I've been like muskets along the way and now feel like ambushed sparks. I've also bandaged ooze and piped whistles, and anymore I listen hard to whatever great-grandfathers growl from their beds whenever they want to. I've held West Virginia in my arms as any maiden aunt would. And I've tasted puddings and smelled cornfields. Nothing else surrounds my years as such knowing does. Nothing else silhouettes my insides as these candles can. And surely nothing will ever race down my ravines, hat in hand, like these chills do. Thanks so much, Diane.
Man, that was really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, and thank you for telling us about your hunger publication. And I see that on the chat. Good. Let's see. Leah Steinberg next. Leah, do you have a poem for us?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Welcome.
This is called We Can't Breathe. 109,000 and counting. Broken glass in the streets. 83 years ago, there was another night of broken glass, Kristallnacht, when fascists ruled the cement sidewalks and roads of Germany. And today, as an invisible killer lurks within and around our lives, the racist lurks again in the street and in the minds of those who hate, whose hearts cannot reach across skin color, religious, or language barriers. Again, as in the days of the Civil War, the years of civil rights, decades of slavery, lost years of Japanese internment, Native American genocide, we are edging towards a civil war against hatred and an invisible killer. Hatred and virus, both invisible, squeeze the air from our lungs, make this country great for the first time, with the corona seen close to the luminous body of our planet, close to the luminous bodies of us all. Shine a light on our land always divided, that has potential. But as Shakespeare's Hamlet once said, therein lies the rub. George Floyd pleaded, I can't breathe. People in the ICU whisper alone through their masks, I can't breathe. The earth screams through the smoke, radiation, and pollution. I can't breathe. We can't breathe. We can't breathe. We can't breathe. Thank you.
Great reading, Leah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See, I see Terry Adams made it.
I made it.
Terry, you made it? Are you settled in enough to read us a poem?
I think so, yes. Although I'm not in a
No
hurry
pressure.
now.
If you'd rather not, it's okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll wait a little bit. The thing I was going to be in a hurry for didn't happen, so I'm here to stay for a while.
Okay. Okay. Well, then.
Sorry
how
for being
about-
late.
Pardon?
Sorry for being late.
That's okay. That's okay. People have been drifting in and out anyway. So, well, how about Bobby Miley? Would you like to give us something?
Can do. All right, I've got 2 poems for today. The raindrops pass straight through me, and I realize for the first time that I'm a ghost. The raindrops strike the ground and cease to be. The ghost of each smashed droplet, previously unseen, obscure my vision as they ascend back to heaven. The raindrops subsume me, and I'm flooded with their longing to leave humanity behind, to abandon the hard, fatal ground and return home, to wait, lifeless and deathless, for another opportunity to fall. And my second piece. The mustache breaks, releases toxic coolant, and begins to overheat. I pull out the mustache manual, flip to the appendix of emergency procedures, and yell Portuguese swears at the top of my lungs, as it advises. The mustache vibrates, releases its latest mixtape, and begins to ascend. The manual doesn't cover this, so I start swearing even louder, and in desperation throw in some Italian I picked up from a friend that was in the Navy. The mustache laughs, releases me from my bondage, and ends where it once began.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we are at the end of our scheduled reading list. I see a couple faces that I'm going to ask if they might like to read a poem before we close, but no pressure. Rosemary, would you care to read something for us? Rosemary Ibarra Garcia? Can't hear you. You're muted. Yeah. Fiddle with the thing on the lower left side of your screen. See if that works.
I see that most everyone is muted.
Mute.
Yeah, there's been a lot of trouble with sort of unmuting and staying unmuted.
Yeah.
I think it's like the latest version of Zoom has another wrinkle in it. There's Rosemary. Yes, hi. Hi.
Do you want me to read now?
I would love you to read a poem, yes.
Well, thank you. This is from my first book, my second book called Weaving. Old Man in the Garden. Old man born in Awakatlan, who defends Eden from worms that hunger for the souls who hide in its bosom. Old man who tends the succulent nopal, juicy plums, chile verde, and yellow corn. Old man who balances water and soil with blessings from the sun. Old man, tiller of seeds, sour of life. The same man who in youthful migrant days, the chichara bounced around like a hot, sweaty beetle in the unyielding earth. You prayed so loudly to escape the dirt in your mouth and the sting in your hunger. To escape beyond the garden fence. The harrow held you between its teeth, to follow, to seed, to crop, to gather, always together, stones to feed, the insatiable appetite of the machine. Now in Eden, at the close of day, you continue the rhythm of the whole, gathering souls who hide in your garden.
Thank you, Rosemary. That's beautiful.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. Let's see. Terry, do you feel like reading something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This is called Police Your Brass. In order to avoid arrest, this story has crawled underneath the truth the way one might crawl underneath a car at the side of a protest rally or crawl underneath a police car, having no other way to speak except in the second language, which is the language of war, which was learned at the iron sight smile of the father who gave first the cap gun, and then the rubber gun, and then the flashlight gun, and then the wooden gun, the water cannon, the BB gun, the pellet gun, the single shot 22, and taught how to aim low so that as the recoil bounces upward with the automatic setting, the report is not an explosion. It is only air snapping back into the muzzle. And the speed of language itself is faster than sound, the sound as the bullet leaves, and teaches how to count the 9mm headaches in the magazine, and teaches how to police the brass and how to grip the nightstick, parabellum your cartridges, field strip your smokes, and don't ever block the 38 hammer with the thin skin web of your thumb. Projectile casing the language brass, the casing police, your brass, your nightstick, hammer, action. You are a party to the faction.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Terry, oof. Oof.
It's the second time I've heard that, and I like it even better the second time. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you,
Okay.
Bobby, especially.
Always, man. Oh.
We've come to the end of our reading list, and thanks so much for joining us. Please tune in next month on July 14th, when we will feature La Honda poet Terry Adams, as well as a slightly shorter open mic. We'll start sending out emails in a week or so. Have a good night.
Okay.